Hi, how you doing? Today's video is actually a request. One of my followers wanted me to discuss my thoughts on the 12th house and how I interpret it in a chart. So let's just dive right in. The 12th house is the deepest layer of our psyche. It's the things that are hidden from ourselves and are hardest to access. So let's think about this in contrast to the first house, which is our physical body and the outermost layer of our personality, the things that people would notice about us first. And let's also think about it in opposition to the sixth house, which is the mundane day to day routines that we perform without any sort of conscious thought put into it, because we need to do it in order for our lives to function, as well as our physical body and what it needs to be maintained so it can function on a day to day basis. The 12th house is the opposite of this. It is our subconscious, our unknown unknowns. It's our dreams and intuitions. If you believe in reincarnation, this is where you would look in your chart to see your influences from your past life alongside your south node. But on a broader sense, it's our spiritual and emotional connection to the universe around us. The 12th house can also represent repressed matters, our anguish and guilt and denials, things that we try to avoid about ourselves. And these can be our aspects that make us our own worst enemies and make us self-sabotage. So we're talking about things that you think about when you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you feel disdain, or when you're lying in bed at night and your mind's just playing the greatest hits of all your biggest mistakes in lives, things that you deeply regret that you never really talk about. This is all 12th house stuff, but the point isn't to just wallow in self-pity. The point of this is what we focus on through self-reflection in order to find growth through answers to these questions. But with the 12th house being the house of the unknown, sometimes we need to just accept that there isn't always going to be an answer. Sometimes we just need to be okay with accepting that things are the way they are and being okay with that. And the 12th house can also represent our hidden enemies and secrets, but it isn't just our hidden struggles. It's also our hidden strengths that we don't see. It is how our soul struggles and grows, and therefore it is the source of empathy for us. Remember that the 12th house is ruled by Neptune and Pisces, and therefore it reflects their qualities. For example, the 12th house reflects the Piscean quality of being empathetic and understanding to others, while itself being hard to understand and easily misunderstood. People with heavy 12th house placements may find themselves with a keen intuition and potentially even psychic talent, depending on what's in their 12th house, as well as being able to express themselves through art and music and acting, fields where they don't necessarily need to connect through words. Instead, they connect through emotion and empathy and touching on people's own past experiences and relating to that. As the 12th house is connected to Neptune, it encompasses where we find inspiration and psychic receptivity, but also confusion. In order to find ourselves spiritually and to help mold our lives into our ideal form that we want, we must focus on what lessons our 12th house is trying to teach us. And we need to put real work into ourselves. And this will be extremely difficult, as our ego will use deception and denial in order to protect itself by preventing us from this necessary self-reflection. Because you see, the ego is the part of our mind that is saying that we are separate. It is the part of our mind that is lying to us and trying to convince us that we are our own individual identity instead of being part of the collective consciousness of the universe. It's the part of ourselves that are saying, I am me and everything else is the other. And therefore, I do not have any connection to the other, because I am Dustin, or I am Jeff, or whoever you are. Your ego tells you that you are not part of the rest of the world, and the rest of the world doesn't care about you. But that's not true. Our higher consciousness is the part of us that understands that this life that we experience is a limited perspective. It is not all we are, and it understands that we are connected to everything, and everything is connected to us. And we can see the proof in this just through the accuracy of astrology. This is why the planets can so accurately depict us in our charts, or the world in the transits of the day, because as above, so below. It is all a reflection of the same energy, the same emotions. And so this is all things that you can come to understand as you heal yourself. But we need to be careful, because when it comes to these repressed issues that the 12th house can deal with, these things that are restricting, that confine us into our own little fortress of trauma and pain, um, it, if if we ignore this and we don't find that self-reflection and that inner peace, then we will turn to depression through guilt, and we could even turn to addiction, particularly alcohol or other drugs, things that will make us forget or stop thinking about the pain that we need to be addressing. But when we address that pain, that is when we will find our true power and our empathy, and we will be able to learn to love ourselves. And through loving ourselves, we will then be able to love others and put love out into the world. And then once we do that, we will see how our lives turn around and stop focusing on the lack that our ego tells us we are experiencing. And we will instead start experiencing abundance and joy, and our lives will reflect what our hearts feel. This is all stuff that starts in our 12th house. In horary astrology, where we look at charts in events instead of looking at the charts of people, the 12th house will represent things being hidden in hard to reach places, like hiding places or being hidden inside other objects. And it can also represent areas of confinement or restriction, like hospitals. And it can be interpreted as secret meetings or secret dealings, self-undoing, fears, personal failings. It will reflect these qualities in a horary chart. I'm particularly fascinated with people who have 12th house suns, as they tend to have a struggle expressing or understanding themselves. And especially if their ascendant shares the same sign as their 12th house sun, they will struggle to see in themselves what is readily apparent to everyone else around them. And they may spend their entire lives soul searching, but they also have a very powerful intuition. And the same can be said for just about every planet one may find in the 12th house. Especially planets like Pluto and Uranus and Neptune in the 12th house. These planets are what can really unlock psychic potential in somebody and intuition. People with these kinds of planets in their chart, they will have intuition and understanding of people about things that they really shouldn't be able to understand. And they may even have prophetic dreams and be surprised to see things that they dream about or things that they're thinking about just happen to come true. It's really a truly fascinating house, and it is definitely the hardest one to interpret. But that's about all the time I have for this video, so I hope that this was satisfactory, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. And if you want a reading from me, you can get it at www.dhastrology.com.